What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Lots of questions, lots of people reaching out to me over the years here, wondering how I got to where I am today. So between the business, the revenue streams, sponsorships, things like that. So today we're gonna break down all of those things and hopefully shed some light to those of you that are trying to make a living as a snowmobiler. Okay, so we'll just start from the very beginning. When I started snowmobiling, this is 1996 time frame, pre-Slednex. So you guys remember Slednex, the film that kind of, started sort of a free ride revolution where, as I got into snowmobiling, it was way more about using a snowmobile for access because at that time I was riding for companies, but on the snowboard side. So I was competing professionally as a snowboarder. When I got into snowmobiling, I was looking at the sled as just a way to take my snowboarding into the backcountry and get away from lift lines, get away from the village scene and just the being around so many people. It was awesome to be out in the backcountry. And so using a sled is just the chairlift to anywhere. And many of you guys that know my Slednex story has maybe heard that before. But initially, it was a hobby. Initially, it was just something to go and do. I had a lot of fun doing it. I was paying for my own snowmobiles. I had been on the sponsorship game for a while with snowboard companies, so whether it was goggles and outerwear and snowboards and things like that. And so I'd been doing it since I was about 13 years old. Well, at about the 19, 20-year-old time frame, that's when started really looking into snowmobiling as something I wanted to do as a career. And so when Slednex started, I'm it's so funny to think back of just the sleds at that time frame too, but buying a snowmobile was the most hardcore focus of the summer. So whether it was construction or whatever job that you needed to do to get that one sled as we started, that was the focus. So come fall time, you'd have a sled and you'd get out there and ride. Well, in 1998, basically that 1997-98, when Slednex began, that was kind of the first opportunity that many of us had that early on to showcase our skill set or showcase what our passions were on film. And this is so prior to Facebook, prior to any social media outlet, which so many of you that are watching this have today as a huge advantage. We had the opportunity to be in movies, the opportunity to maybe get in a magazine, whether it was like this tiny little photo or maybe a quarter-page ad or something that was, influencing other people to kind of take a look at what you were doing. So Slednex started, and that was truthfully the sort of the doorstep or like getting the foot in the door within the snowmobile industry. So, fast forward years ahead, we'd been in, I think 13 out of the 17 or 18 Slednex films, along with various others. And through that, guys, some sponsorships, things that went right, things that went the other way. We had the Gravity Games that happened in 2002. That was the very first nationally televised freestyle event that I took a silver medal in. And what an amazing feat early on in my career. But those situations helped all along the way and are certainly sort of the doorstep or another step further as I kind of really started to discover what a career in snowmobiling would end up being. But still, back in those days, it was all about a movie segment. Maybe it was a spread in a magazine. I look back and I think about between Snow West and Sledheads magazine, those types of things were always these ways for me to push out what I was or what I was doing as a snowmobiler, and also what I had to offer to anybody that was out there maybe sponsoring and looking at partnerships or sponsorships. So getting through all of that is like my early days as a snowmobiler, and still having the drive, not having social media where we can do this on the daily, but having the drive to push myself within the sport and create ways that I could be marketable. So create ways that companies would look at what I was doing and say, yeah, this is a guy that we want to have on board. And in 2008, when the marketing director of Polaris reached out to me, you guys, I can remember the exact spot of where I was on the planet when I got that phone call, because that was what I call, and I've got it written here in my notes, of sort of the foot in the door move when they had asked me to come be a part of their program. And when that happened, essentially from the moment that door sort of creaked itself open, I rammed my foot into that thing and was never going to allow it to close. And what I mean by that is that's when I got hyper focused onto what I was going to do and really truly turn this thing into a career. About the same time, I wasn't riding professionally. There wasn't money to be made. And so for those that are still out there, even to this day, that think that you can be a good rider, you can have good social media presence, you can have all of these things, remember that truthfully, the pro rider in me is, well, I developed what we're in. I developed Next Level Riding Clinics where I teach people backcountry riding. I have a retail space that makes money. The reason that I'm able to ride and do it as a job and do it as a sole focus in the wintertime is I provided a business that sort of surrounds around riding. And so we'll catch up to that. But back in 2008, that was my window. That was my spot where I knew if I did what I was supposed to do. And here's the big one. Here's like tip one for anybody that's out there that has asked me over the years of how I've got to where I'm at and how I've turned it into revenue, how I make it into a job, is that what I initially said I was going to do is something that I am still doing this many years later. So I've been in this industry for 20-something years, and I've just been constantly putting it out there that this is what I'm going to do as a snowmobiler. This is what I'm going to provide to you from a company standpoint, from a promotional standpoint, and I'm going to continue to work my butt off so that those things continue to happen. And so, lesson one with any of this is the moment that you reach out to a sponsorship, whether you're looking for parts, you're looking for sleds, you're looking for clothing, you're looking for whatever it is that you tell that sponsor or that person that you're working with that you're going to do, you damn sure better do it. And how many times I've stuck my neck out there for somebody, like more or less used my name as credibility to have those people do it for a little while and then realize how much effort or how much work it is and then kind of flop. So know that there is no flopping in this, and this is any industry, but snowmobiling being the small industry that it is, know that when you're gonna do something and you've set out to do it and you've put it on paper as part of a contract, that's what you end up having to do. And so in 2008, got my program with Polaris. Here we are all the way in 2022. I'm still part of that Polaris family. And I think that family relationship continues to just get better and better. And it wouldn't be that way if I didn't continue to put in the work. And along with Polaris as a partner, there are a bunch of partners and sponsors that I have kept more or less throughout my career. And we've made some changes. There have been some growing pains with any business. I feel like you start going down a road, you have ideas, you have a direction, and then sometimes things change and you go into a different direction. So it's not to say that everything has been exactly the same since the get-go, but for the most part, I have had some companies that I don't even really look at as business relationships more than I look at them as family or friendships. And that's really, really important to me as I've grown older, and I'd say this to anybody, that my career as a snowmobiler, if I got into this thinking that it was going to be millions of dollars and it was all this success and there was yachts and planes and second homes and things like that, I mean, it's a career choice that I did out of passion. But the thing that I would hold the most true, and hopefully you guys will nod in agreement as you're looking at this, is the relationships that I have built along the way. The friendships, the people that have gone close to my heart, and vice versa, people that we've gone on trips with and we've snowmobiled, we've gone on vacations with in the summer and things like that. Those relationships are things that, regardless of the snowmobile itself, are things that I'll hold on to for the rest of my life. And that's pretty dang important to me. But back to revenue streams, back to how I actually do what I do. In 2008, about that time, we all know the term 2008 when we talk about the housing crisis and just recession and the bottom falling out and things like that. And it's crazy to think that I started a snowmobile business. I started a want and not a need. People have to have money to come and do this sport. There's no secret that snowmobiling continues to be this sport it takes a lot of money to be involved. It's an equipment-based sport. And as snowmobiles, clothing, all of it, as the prices go up, I mean, this industry has really taken a turn where it's like my first snowmobile I bought back in that 1996 time frame. I mean, we were buying brand new sleds for $5,000. Now $5,000 is, maybe getting you a custom rear suspension. I mean, something like that. So it's changed a ton. So having a source of income, figuring out a way that not just being a rider, not just getting my picture taken every once in a while, not just getting an article in a magazine, like that's what it ultimately took back in the day, because there wasn't any of these other sources of getting yourself out there and making yourself visible or promotion, getting a promotional value added to yourself. These are all things that have changed drastically over time. In the beginning, we just basically had those outlets to go and look out for. So a movie segment, a magazine article, a cover of a magazine. Are you kidding me? That was so much news for us. It was pretty dang cool. And so 2008, recession hits, housing crisis is down. I was a construction guy. My brother and I were trying our butts off to try to make ends meet, and boom, we couldn't make it happen. Going into that season, I had started Next Level Riding Clinics. My very first year of Next Level, you guys, I had 12 people attend the clinics. I finally got my Forest Service permit, which, man, we want to go down the permit road, and how much, dotting the I's and crossing T's, and how much paperwork and how many things that we had to go through to make it known of like what we were intending to do here at Next Level. That was a ton of work. I think people think that you can just walk into the Forest Service office, submit them with a plan, and you got a permit the next day. I've got news for you, that it's not that simple. And so that took a long, long time. But in 2008, it was an idea. It was something like, can I make this work? Can I take a passion of mine, something that has taken me so many years to learn how to do correctly, and heck, I'm still practicing even today. But can we take that, harness it, turning into something that people would want to go do, other than just taking people guiding, which the guiding operations had been around for years, of just people that knew areas. They wanted to take people that didn't know the riding area. They'd take them out for X amount of dollars, and boom, they'd take them into some honey holes. They'd show them a good time, and that's how they made money. I mean, there have been fishing guides and all kinds of summer and winter activities where guided operations were already in place. The idea that I was going to teach people backcountry riding, I think the biggest resource, one of the biggest things that I had, was knowing that I was approaching this from a safety standpoint. I knew that the Forest Service was going to love that I was not only out there showcasing this sport that I was so passionate about, and I was good at it. I mean, I'm still practicing, like I said, but you'd have to know how to do this to teach it. And so I had learned from, like I said, so many years of doing it incorrectly. I'd felt like I had known what to do and how to do it, and here we are this many years later, and I've still got a return clientele that's about that 60 to 70 percentile, which tells me that people are having fun, but they're also learning a ton, and that's why they're coming back. Well, anyway, I got into the outfitter and guide business. It was still labeled under the same thing, even though I was so focused on this thing being a school. In fact, the very first name that we had for this place was Rocky Mountain Sled School. And then I got approached by the University of Wyoming saying, hey, you've got school in the title of your business. I need to see some authorized faculty. We have to have a curriculum. We have to have a ton of things that I didn't know how to put together. And so I said, you know what? We're going to change that. And my wife came up with Next Level Riding Clinics, which to this day has just stuck and been an awesome, awesome way. And it became like one of the most, I'd say, overused marketing terms on the planet was Next Level. But Next Level Riding Clinics, it's exactly what we needed it to be, and it's exactly what our intention is. Every day we take people into the backcountry. So it's worked. Well, Next Level in 2008, it was off to a slow start, but as I said, I started really focusing on the AVI safety component of it. So I went and got my AVI certificate. So I became certified in Avalanche training. I became certified as a wilderness first responder. And those are the things that early on really helped, I'd say, catapult me, along the way here, where more and more people each and every year, as the business grew, as the website grew, as more and more people became, they knew about Next Level and what we're doing. And here we are this many years later where we were booked for our season in March of this last year. We do nothing but private classes. It's crazy the amount of interest that has, shown itself through years and years of just really hard work. And again, doing what I set out to do. And that is on the sponsorship side of things. I am there to promote the companies that I'm representing. I do what I set out to do. On the retail side of things, I am not only utilizing on my person, on my sled, and what we're doing on the day-to-day in the backcountry, those are the things that I sell in my retail space, so that credibility is already given. The retail space has catapulted in the last few years here, and that's taken not only a ton of money, but a ton of time. My wife, Irina, is solely responsible for building our website, both on the retail side of things. So when you go to nextlevelshop.com, that is all built internally to this business. Next Level Clinics, in terms of the registration and how you go on and book a clinic with us. Every bit of that, guys, was self-taught right through this company. You talk about hard work, learning through tutorials and the YouTube channel and understanding what it takes to do this stuff day in and day out. It is so uniquely different from what I think a lot of people on the surface see as, well, I get to go snowmobiling every day. The snowmobiling is so far down the line of what it is that I do here that has made it successful that I think that that's what people see because, well, that's what social media is to all of us, is it's the highlight reel. You guys get to see the riding, you get to see the enjoyment, you get to see all of those things. What you don't see are the things that you maybe wouldn't want to see, and why this video was important to share, and that's the amount of effort that it takes to do it.
Imagine if you were 18 years old, you have a new matrix, and you live in a snowy place, and you want to make a living as a snowmobiler. How would you do it?
Yeah, so, and by the way, very envious of the 18-year-old that their first or second sled is a matrix, because, Stephen, we both know what we grew up on, and it wasn't that. But it's awesome, and I love seeing it, and how many clinic guys have come through here that are in their teens that I see them. I can remember when Caleb Kosturki first came to Next Level in 2015. He was riding I would say that it was a clapped out, and he would probably agree with me, a clapped out Skidoo at the time, and you could just see it. You could tell. I've been around these kids, these athletes. Back in the day when I was a snowboard coach, coaching Travis Rice, I could tell, I could see the presence of someone that was going to go on and turn this into something fantastic. And so not unlike Travis, you could see that in Caleb. And what you guys need to understand about Caleb Kosturki is prior to sponsorship, prior to him being where he is even today, and he's got a road in front of him in order to turn this into a full-blown career. But what he did prior to it is he put in the work. And the work has not stopped. I mean, he's gotten really good at, showcasing through social, through all of his different channels, through his YouTube channel, through everything that we're all seeing now. He is showcasing the effort. He is showcasing the work that he's putting into it. And it wasn't just this, as I got started, this gimme, gimme, gimme. How many times, how many countless emails I have from people looking to get sponsored by Next Level, where the term or where they're reaching out to me is like on a direct message, which I will tell you is already a fail. Like sending someone a text that you're this professional and that you want to represent them, and doing that through social media or through a text, it's not always the best way. I mean, it can be a way to get a conversation started, but if you're truthfully wanting to be a part of something, that's in an email. That's like reaching out and putting a bit more effort into it than just, hey, I'm good, you should sponsor me. Or the best one that I hear is, hey, I'm thinking about becoming this. I'm thinking about joining the Rimshaw circuit, or I'm thinking about becoming a professional snowmobiler. You should sponsor me. Caleb didn't do that. I didn't do that. We earned it. We reached out and we were a part of, whether it was a movie, whether we created our own content. You guys today that have social channels, you have the ability to create your own stuff, your own, production. Put it out there. Let those companies come to you. Show them that you are willing to put in the work. When Polaris reached out to me, I mean, what a cool feeling, right? It was this feeling of, my gosh, the things that I've been doing already, the busting my butt and realizing that snowmobiling for so many years was just a passion. It was a hobby. It was something that I loved to do. And that hobby later turned into a job that it was maybe more of just something that was a hobby that was paying for itself. And then as I started Next Level, turned it into a full-blown punching the clock on a lot of those days and turning it into a job. There are days that I go out riding, guys, where the snow isn't very good, it's cold, I've got riders that are struggling, and you really do feel like and know that it is a job for that day. And guess what? It's a job. and I look at the alternatives. I look at what I could have been doing or the route that I could have gone, and I'll never take any of it back. It's been the most fun, the most gratifying, the most like full life that I could have ever imagined. But for anybody out there to think that it was easy, or to think that I somehow like got grandfathered in or that I was lucky, none of that was lucky. The fact that I've stayed healthy enough to continue to do this, that's been through years of, honestly looking at terrain, looking at the choices that I make throughout my winter and sort of weighing like what those options are. Is that cliff, or is that big trick or that big jump or whatever it looks like, is it worth risking putting myself into, some sort of medical situation that doesn't allow me to continue with my year? And so have I had to give up certain ways that I used to ride? Many of you that have been following me since the Sled Next time frame, I mean, I'd say it to anybody, is that when I first started, just like I rode on a snowboard, it was kind of all or nothing. I kind of looked at terrain like, I can't wait to figure out what I can jump off of or how far I can fly, and how many of these young riders that I see that are kind of in that mode. And it's awesome. And a lot of these guys, because of technology, are able to do it a lot safer than I did. We were jumping things that were, maybe not intended to do that. Not to say that it is today, but man, have we made it a lot better. But back in those days, I wasn't thinking about really what I was doing the following week. Now it's like my entire winter is sort of laid out in front of me. And so my ability to run the ship here at Next Level, my ability to be on snow as many days as I am so that I can continue with my job as a snowmobiler, all of those things, every time that I look at something that's risky, I have to weigh those options of whether or not I can be there ready to perform on that Monday morning when I have clients and I have a business, I have a family that depends on me. That changes everything as you turn this into, your source of income. So as I look down my list of these revenue streams, are there sponsorship dollars? And the answer is certainly. Can you have sponsorship dollars that are just in parts and things like that? And the answer is certainly. What I'm not having to pay for is not coming directly out of my pocket. So again, working with a sponsor or a partner and knowing that what I intend to do, what I set out to do, what I have said I was going to do, whether it's a 1-year term, it's a multi-year term, whatever those contracts say and whatever they look like, you do what you set out to do. You hang in there and you put it out there. So whatever they need back in return for those products that they are giving you, that is not just a high five, a fist pump, and you're on your way with some free stuff. How many people will kind of poke at the YouTube channel or poke at social media going, it must be nice to get all of that for free? Remember that there is nothing free. Nothing is free. This is all a contract agreement that says this product is coming to you, and as a return, you are doing promotion for it, you are doing testing for it, but none of it, guys, is where I got lucky, Chris Barant got lucky, and we just get product for free. So we're going to debunk that myth right now. Polaris didn't buy my house. There isn't any of those things that are happening. Polaris and I have an unbelievable relationship where I have sleds to ride, I have sleds to rent, and my whole objective here is teaching people backcountry riding on the best snowmobiles in the business. And it is my intent every day that I go out that customer experience is their number one priority. I want them to go out there, come home safely, and know that they did it with the most professional setup on the planet. That's what I set out to do, and that's what I continue to do. So the sponsorships, the partnerships, what I do on the retail side. So nextlevelshop.com. How cool is it that I have a retail space right here where I teach my riding clinics? The other great thing, and we didn't do this by accident, we did it on purpose, we have a retail space that it's the doorstep of the backcountry. And it started out as when people forgot something, or they needed a spare pair of gloves, or they needed a second set of goggles, whatever it looked like. And it started out as that, and now it's turned into, we are a full-blown authorized climb dealer. We are a retailer of so many different aftermarket parts. But the coolest thing is that the retail space on one side, the shop side on the other, there isn't a retail item that's on that side of the shop that we haven't thoroughly tested and aren't using on the day-to-days. So the people that come in that have a question about durability, about, just the performance of something, chances are on this side of the shop, we're using it. So that credibility goes hand in hand. And it's so cool to see how Next Level started as a riding clinic. The riding clinic has led to the retail. The retail and the riding clinic is now consumed by what it is that we're doing today with the YouTube channel. And this is the coolest outlet that I have now, reaching so many of you that are out there that don't get to come to Alpine because of money, family, time, distance, whatever it looks like. This is our way of reaching out to you guys. So whether it's riding tips, it's potential helpful videos that just shed insight as to what I do here. Hopefully all of these things are hopefully all of these things are helpful, and the channel is my best outlet to all of you. The retail space, we've gone through that. Social media, you guys, again, you get to see the highlight reel of what we do. How neat is it that, as I've said, along with the retail, a great example was last night I did a post on my Instagram about some throttle blocks that we are now working with that are working really, really well. And I make one post about it, and I did 4 orders of those throttle blocks last night in my sleep. So having an online presence, having an online store, as well as a physical space, how those things work hand in hand as a revenue stream is a great way to, again, make a living as a snowmobiler. Is it a lot of work? I would let my wife jump in here if she had anything to do with this, and she would give you this look like it is more work than you will ever imagine in your life. It is a ton, and anybody with a small retail shop would tell you that, and that's kind of in every industry. The appearances. So I put that in there because there's a lot of you guys that I do see at snow shows, at various events and things like that, and then there's quite a few of these events that I'll put on myself. A great, for instance, is I just did a completely free Avalanche class the other night for our local search and rescue. There was over 100 people that attended, and I just got to walk through what I would do here as part of my one-day Avi preparedness class, and it was unbelievable. And there were guys that came to that class that said, this was one of the best Avalanche classes I've ever been through. Now, we're not finished, and more of that is the on-snow version because there is zero substitute for the on-snow training. But for me to go and do some of those appearances like that, whether it's there, whether it's at a dealership, something like that, for those of you wanting to know what it's like or how much effort that we have to put into these things, there is a ton of that as well. So getting to snow shows, shaking hands with some of these people, you know, this day and age with Snapchat and just with texting and everything on, we have this sort of like virtual relationships with people. I am telling you that there are still more people in this industry that would rather hang onto your hand and shake it and know that you're looking them in the face. And when you're telling them that this is what you're going to do, you're shaking on it and you're showing that person that you are loud and proud, ready to commit to what it is that you're saying you're going to do. So being present at those snow shows, going to the snow shows, introducing yourself to those companies, and just having like a clear intention of what it is that you want to do, that's going to be super helpful. Again, with the whole idea around this video is people wanting to know or wanting to, you know, or making a decision to try and make a living out of snowmobiling. Some other ways, guys, for those that are reading in or looking at this and listening in, other forms of how you can turn snowmobiling, something that you're passionate about. I get it that the sport itself is what you're stoked about, and you're like, man, how can I turn this into a career? How many emails and how many resumes that I keep, guys, and believe me, those that have reached out to me, I hang on to those. I may not reply back to them, but I do hang on to those because there are some where guys are fresh out of college, maybe even fresh out of high school, and snowmobiling is their jam, and that's what they want to do, and they're looking for without that foot in the door, right? They're looking for that same sort of, you know, starter kit that I had, and I would tell you that there are some ways. So how I have hired here at Next Level has typically been guys that, not unlike how Barant has had, you know, guys that were clients to BBA, I have had people that have come to Next Level. In fact, my guides from the last few years here have been guys that had paid their own way. They came in and they showed real promise. They were excellent riders, and more than that, it was character. And character in this industry is massive. You could be the most phenomenal rider on the planet, but have a head this big and not be willing to be a part of anyone's team. And I don't know how far you'll go, because being that it's a small industry, And so much of what we do, and you guys have maybe, if those of you that have been here, you'd understand the term when I say we're only as strong as our team, or you're only as strong as your group, something like that. And I'm really referring to the riding group in itself, but as I look at snowmobiling as an industry, you'd have to be willing to be a part of something bigger than you. And so understanding that as you get into it, that's going to be really helpful as you're wanting to get your foot in the door and try to make an income or make a living off of snowmobiling. But some other ideas would be racing, obviously. So there are guys, and I am best friends with a lot of these racers that are out there that are truthfully making a living in the wintertime as a hill climber or as a snow crosser. And what I would tell you is, holy cow, you talk about being regimented. You talk about putting the most focus into what it is that you do. I mean, hill climbers, guys, I know all of you are following and are watching these guys that are ruling the hill climb circuit. And these are guys that, I mean, they've developed their own curriculum, not just as a human, but what they do as an athlete. So what they do off the snow is equally as important to what they do in the race course. And that's how they've been successful. So not only from the sponsorship or partnership sides of things, but from the race results and what they're doing. So how they're taking care of their bodies, how they're preparing themselves for their race season. We all watch Supercross. We all watch all of these things where you watch these guys where they get moments in time. We're getting ready to watch the Olympics. Talk about a moment in time of when you have to be 100% just focused. Well, these guys, the same. And so is that a revenue stream? Can you make money? And the answer is certainly. It's just how much you're willing to work for it. So snow crossing, hill climbing, and then for those that are still on the backcountry side and you wanna guide, you have this thirst for just taking people into backcountry, you know enough about snowmobiling to be able to show them some tips and tricks. I mean, that's really the guidelines of Next Level, is I knew the fundamentals. I knew the tips and tricks. And did it take a long time? And the answer is yeah, it was the slow road to success. I wasn't a racer. I freestyled for a couple of years. I've tried my hand at Jackson Hole, and for those that are watching, you'll smile the same way I am that I've been up there 3 times. None of it was very graceful. But I realized that my strong suit was taking people into the backcountry and teaching people how to ride. I have the patience. I've really figured out, I've really dissected mountain snowmobiling to the point where I can not only show you how to do it, but I can tell you how to do it, which I feel like is equally, if not even more important sometimes than just saying, hey, do what I do. Like being able to tell people how to do it was really, really important. So you've got the guiding aspect. To become a guide, guiding for something specialized with what I do here at Next Level. As I said, most of the stories go where I had people that came through Next Level and they were somebody that just, because of their character, because of the type of person they weren't afraid to take their helmets off, get their hands wet, and guys that were tough, guys that I knew I could trust, not only in the backcountry, but here in the shop. And everybody that works here is double duty, meaning that they are just as much a part of the builds, because we'll get into builds and how that can be a profit to you as well, but they're responsible. They're reliable humans, both on and off the snow. To become a guide, to go to Togety, to guide anywhere, and just get your foot in the door that way, and just understand if that's truthfully what you want to do as a snowmobiler, remembering that patience, being able to teach people, having that understanding that they don't know what you know is pretty dang important. And a lot of people, they think they understand what that life is going to look like, and then they get into it and realize, wow, that does take a lot more patience than maybe I had originally thought. And that might be what deters you from turning guiding or something like this sport into an actual revenue stream or something that's going to make you money. All right, so another one that comes to mind while we're talking about racing of any kind would be freestyling. So you guys have been following my career, and I have followed so many guys' careers from essentially day one, including Chris Brandt. Some other big names in the industry that have been around for a while would be Heath Frisbee, Brett Turcotte, that's still out doing things on a snowmobile that people shouldn't. But you're seeing guys that are still making a living freestyling. When X Games happened, that was huge for the freestyle world. That really put snowmobiling, truthfully, on the map. And it really catapulted a lot of these guys' careers. Now that X Games is, well, I'd say just deciding on whether snowmobiling is going to be a part of it, there are still guys that are out there making a living doing shows, whether they're doing them on their own or they're, sort of back to back with some of the motocross stuff that's out there. And freestyle, another awesome way to showcase your talent. Is it a way to make money? And the answer is certainly. And similar risks involved to those that race, and I'd say the risk is there. It's high. In fact, I was a freestyler for a number of years, and some of the worst injuries that ever happened to me throughout my career were either practicing or learning freestyle moves. And granted, in today's age with foam pits and the airbag landings and everything else, I'd say that those of you that are getting into freestyle, investing into your own life, into your own safety, how many riders that I know that were literally forced from the sport due to injury was from that freestyle side. But can you make money as a freestyle? And the answer would be certainly. Is it something that you can do that you can approach sponsors? On the sponsorship side of things, there are certain companies, there are suspension, there are wraps, there are handlebars, there are a lot of hard part companies that I feel like are really like adapting to the freestyle side of that from an actual OEM, whether or not, Polaris, Articat, Skidoo, these guys are really kicking down for the freestyle guys anymore. I think that it was all about the center stage. Like when it was an X Games thing and there was a lot of visibility around it, I feel like that's where it really shined. And so the decision in terms of, again, revenue stream is freestyling the route. And I would say if you're passionate about it and you're good enough where you can continue to push the envelope, what a great way, because talk about making money in a short amount of time. You go out and you perform these events. I mean, you're on snow for very minimal time. It's like the hill climb racer. We watch these guys go up, and sometimes they're just over a minute in their race. And for 1 minute of racing, it's some pretty high stakes, but it's also quite a bit of money to be made if you can maintain at that high level and you can stay injury-free. So revenue streams, the term pro rider. So before I finish this up, and hopefully this is just helpful insight and it's answering a bunch of questions, a bunch of people reaching out again of how I got where I'm at. And hopefully you guys are understanding that it was a long road and it's a lot of work, and it's going to be a lot of work until I turn the open sign off. I mean, every bit of what I do is just work. Are there so many reasons why it's awesome and so many things that I get to go out and go and do and the opportunities that have been landed to me? I mean, I've taught riding clinics 6 times in Russia. I've been to, Quebec. I've been to Alaska. I've been to so many places all over the planet where this job, this business, this idea of teaching people how to snowmobile, where it's all taken me. And it's, like I said, would I do it again? I'd do it 10 times over. It's the coolest opportunity in life that I've ever been given, but it took work. It was not luck. But the term pro rider. So do I consider myself a professional rider? Well, to a company that I'm representing, that they want that representation to be at the highest level possible, then the term pro rider is, that's what it is. But the idea that we are this like NFL or NBA ball player where there's enough money here, where we've got ultimate, cars and, houses everywhere and things like that. I mean, that's not what this is. The idea that we got into snowmobiling and we did it for the money, that wasn't the intent. Like carving a living out of the snowmobile industry and making it possible so that I can be on the snow, well, nearly every day or days that I'd want to. It's taken a ton of time to get there. Does it mean that you can make it happen? And the answer is yeah. I mean, how much grunt that you have, just like any job that we're all out doing, if you have the willingness to put in the effort, it's going to show itself and it's going to be positive. You just have to have that willingness to do it. And you can't just name drop. You don't get to be a pro rider because you know me or because you know the next guy that is one. You have to showcase that you are a pro rider. So that term pro rider and that there's all this money to be made and all we end up having to do is just ride a snowmobile, that could not be further from the truth. The idea that we push these products out there, we promote the products, we test the products, we validate certain things. We're involved with these companies at such a different level than I think most people realize. That's ultimately what those companies see in us. And that's whether it is money, whether it's products, whether it's both, whether it's these contracted agreements that we have. Those are ultimately what matters. Those are the things that really put me into this quote unquote sort of pro rider, if we're going to name what it is that we are. Do I think of myself as that? And the answer is I never will be. Never, ever, ever. I am a rider just like you guys. I love doing it. I've created a business around what it is that I love doing. I am so thankful that I have a family that has, understood what it is that I've done and made huge sacrifices to allow this to happen. And so we are year 14 here at Next Level, and pro rider or not, this is me just giving you guys I would like to think, some insight into what it is that my world is all about. We've got another video that we'll do that's sort of a day in the life of what we do here at Next Level, which I hope will be a really cool one, very involved. It'll be during a clinic. You guys will get to see the interactions of that. For so many of you that don't get to come to a riding clinic that wonder what it looks like, that video will really help kind of showcase what that day in the life of Dan Adams and what I do here at Next Level is really like. So that'll be a really good one. I think that's it, guys. I've gone through some of this other stuff over and over, so sorry for reiterating it, but you guys, again, I so appreciate the subscriptions to the channel. It's really fun to look at the analytics and to see how helpful this is, to see how many of you guys are continually watching what it is that we're putting out. You guys remember to hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Leave those comments. We love hearing from you guys. If you haven't noticed, a lot of the content that is on the channel is directly from you guys and your comments about, hey, what would be a cool video? And this one right here was a lot of people reaching out to me, whether it's through comments on the channel or comments on my social media or people just reaching out through the Next Level website. You guys, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. Leave those comments below, and we'll see you next time.